We are here. We will re-adjourn at 8:15 for our study special session. At 8:15 to hear division reports, and discuss division reports. Dr. Woodson,
You've been hearing an awful lot about the work we're doing to align to the new mandates, which is important work in student hours and calendar and issues like that. But there is also very important daily work that each of our divisions are leading. So we certainly just want to give you a general overview of some of the pieces. Some of the pieces that especially Mr. Smith is going to preview for you, you'll be having more in-depth pieces coming up as information items and eventually throughout this semester action items for you as a board, but we're just giving you kind of a preview tonight. So know that though we're going to skim over some information, more in-depth, detailed information is coming very, very soon. This is just kind of a preview of second semester for each of the divisions. So with that, Mr. Smith, do you want to start?
Operations Division consists of 6 departments: construction, child nutrition, housekeeping, maintenance, safety and security, and the warehouse.
Just small staff, little job.
And I'll briefly summarize some points about each one of those, and I will move through them, so please feel free to stop me and ask any questions on each specific department or topic, and not necessarily wait till the end. I'll start off with construction. HVAC replacement projects at Allisonville, Nora, and Northview are substantially complete. Also, the replacement of the Nora roof is substantially complete. Operations and the district's professional partners are working with the respective contractors on the finishing punch list and final inspections. And as with many projects, sometimes the last 2 or 3% can be the most difficult. Actually, I'm going to be up on the roof at Nora tomorrow at 8 o'clock, weather permitting, for about the 3rd final inspection. As we talk about construction, I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about a couple other things that we're working on. The first one is a review of how our facilities are used, how school district facilities are used by non-school groups. The Operations Division is conducting this review, and an accurate list of the organizations that use school district facilities has been compiled. In addition, for the first time, the hourly cost, both during heating and cooling season, of operating these facilities has been calculated. It is now possible to determine the true cost of these events. As an example, the cost of operating facilities used by Panther basketball during the 2011-2012 school year will be a little over $42,000. Work is continuing on this issue, and a detailed plan will be completed yet this winter. Another initiative is a review of the 2007 Master Facility Plan. The committee has been formed to review the 2007 Master Facility Plan. The committee is working with the district's professional partners. The 2007 Master Facility Plan is being reviewed using the following criteria. 1, assess and evaluate the ability of existing facilities to meet the needs of current, proposed, and possible programs, i.e. International Baccalaureate, expanded full-day kindergarten, and elementary childhood education are only a few of those possibilities. Criteria 2 is to review and assess the impact of facility changes since the 2007 Master Plan. Some of those changes are the closing of Harcourt and Wyandotte and the resulting enrollment increases at the remaining 5 elementary schools, the addition of modular classrooms at Cricket Creek, Greenbrier, and John Strange elementary schools, and infrastructure needs due to increased enrollment, restrooms, cafeterias, parking lots, site circulation, and technology access. Criteria 3, enrollment and demographic changes, recent enrollment increases, and the full impact of economic conditions and immigration on facilities. And then the final criteria is to update the 2007 Master Facility Plan estimated costs. There's been significant changes that impact the cost estimates of that plan, and those need to be revised as needed. And then we also will be developing alternatives.
Upward or downward, Mr. Smith?
It will depend. It will depend. I think some costs will go down, but others will increase. And also develop alternatives. The 2007 plan was pretty much an all or nothing plan, and we need to have alternatives. So those will be the criteria of the review committee. The committee is broad-based. The work of this committee will be completed by early June 2012.
So we've been clear that the committee is doing the analysis. They are not decision makers. We've been very, very clear about that.
Mr. Smith,
yes.
I know it's been a while. I think our first study session approach to it that we're doing in this format, you gave us a printout of that plan for each of the schools. And I can't remember, just bear with me. But the roof work that's being done now, was that on the 2007 plan?
Yes,
and
it was.
Completing what was on
The
there.
HVAC and the roof work that we have completed we're on.
Okay.
Yes.
So that cost will not be, when you go back to revisit,
No.
that cost is already done. So
That's correct.
Some of those long-term projects are 5 to 10 years from the 2007 plan.
Okay. Quick question, I think. The cost for groups that use our buildings. You know, think of Scouts, I think of a lot of different groups, but Panther Fall is obviously a huge one. Is that the actual cost above and beyond, like, what we would have to invest anyway to keep the energy on at the level? Or okay, so that is actual cost to us of that.
That's the cost of turning the lights on and
Air
running
conditioning,
the
heating.
AC or the AC, or it depends on the facilities. The cost, of course, the cost associated with running an auditorium or different than a classroom. But we took those considerations into account.
That includes, I assume, other non-school buildings, but not the schools proper, like the tennis facility and other.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Next department would be child nutrition. A new point of sale and back of house software package has been selected, installed, and implemented. That package provides enhanced service for students, parents, and the child nutrition department itself. The 40-year-old serving line at West Lane has been replaced, and a third full-service line has been added. This will allow West Lane students to move more quickly through the line, thus allowing more time to eat breakfast and lunch. A similar project will be completed at Northview during forthcoming spring break, and the Eastwood serving lines were replaced and upgraded last year. Child nutrition continues to operate very efficiently. The year-to-year operating balance, July 1, 2010 to July 1, 2011, increased by over $1,100,000. Expenses were up approximately $153,000. This was due mostly to increased servings of fruit, vegetables, and whole grain products. As you may have heard, there was an announcement today about a new plan by Mrs. Obama. I have not seen that plan yet, but Annette and I talked about it, and we feel we may already comply with that plan. Labor costs, however, were down almost $35,000, and this is just despite the substantial increase in student enrollment.
I'm sorry, what was down? I didn't hear the first part.
The labor costs.
Oh.
Labor costs were down about $35,000 for the July 1 to July 1 comparison, and that's despite the fact that we've had substantial increases in student enrollment. So child nutrition continues to operate very efficiently and effectively. Housekeeping, 65 custodians clean 2,250,000 square feet every day. To put that in, that's 34,615 square feet per custodian. And to put that in perspective of, at least to make it more real, if we talk about a 3,000 square foot home, 3,000 square foot home is a pretty good size house. Each custodian cleans about 11 plus in 8 hours. Elementary and middle school.
Appreciation Day for that?
Elementary and middle schools also have 4 hours of contracted services each day. Custodians clean for health, to preserve the facility. A clean facility lasts longer, and for appearance. Maintenance, central maintenance. A central maintenance staff of 10 skilled craftsmen have completed 1,569 work orders since May of 2011. 98.3% of those have been, that's 98.3% of the work orders that have been turned in. In addition, they have responded to numerous emergencies such as snow and ice storms, water main breaks, and power failures. To give you a sense of how those work orders come in, since January 3rd of this year, 73 new work orders have been received as of today. Approximately 93% or 69 of those have been completed. Prompt completion of work orders is a priority for the maintenance department. Security. My report on security will be just a little bit longer. I'll give you a brief update, and then I want to review for you some of the changes that have been made in security since May 27, 2010, and that's actually the day after graduation that year, and that's the day that security was transferred to the operations department. The REMS grant, REMS stands for Readiness and Emergency Management for Schools, has been substantially completed with the installation of additional security cameras and software at North Central, additional security cameras at West Lane, and the installation of a security radio repeater on the Central Campus cell tower. Remaining funds were initially identified for training with a national school safety expert. He has been very difficult to schedule, and plans are currently being developed to use those funds for tabletop training with the help of local Homeland Security staff. Changes that have been made in security since 2010. All safety and security department operations have been moved from the transportation center to the community and education center. A traffic control plan for all schools has been developed. Traffic control RFP has been prepared and published. Those RFPs have been evaluated, and a company was selected to provide those services, and is currently in the second year of a 3-year contract. We've worked with that company to implement and refine the traffic control plan at all schools. The 13 district take-home security car vehicles have been eliminated. There are no take-home security cars anymore. We've reduced the number of security vehicles used from 13 to 5. Only 3 of those remaining 5 vehicles are driven off Central Campus. No vehicles are driven outside of the school district without prior permission. We've improved drastically the quality, professionalism, and training of district security personnel. All security officers are graduates of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy or the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Academy. All are active or reserve, fully certified police officers. Most are with IMPD or the Marion County Sheriff's Department. 4 SROs, 1 each at the middle schools and 1 at North Central. SRO is School Resource Officer. These 4 police officers are full-time district employees. They are all highly trained and fully certified police officers that have received and will continue to receive specific SRO training. At least 3 off-duty regular police officers plus the SRO are on duty at North Central High School during school hours. A plan was developed and implemented to use only off-duty police officers for security at athletic contests and other large school events. And then finally, the Safety and Security Secretary was reduced from a full-time position to a half-time position. Final department in operations is a warehouse.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
before you go, I'm going to ask a question, and this is kind of a more of a why question. For the reductions, for example, security, regardless of where you are, everybody thinks security is a big deal, and we should, and especially in the schools with the children and everything else. What was the rationale? I mean, is the rationale for reducing, like, say, the vehicles that you use? Why did you have 13 in the first place, and then why did you drop so drastically from 13 to just
I
5?
can't answer the question of why we had so many of those.
Oh, okay.
I think some of them were donated, weren't they?
Some were donated. Some of them were very old. Some of them, 2 of them have been taken apart for parts
Oh, okay.
to keep the others running. The newest vehicle is a 2003 Crown Victoria.
Okay.
The issue is,
Does it go over 55?
Barely.
the issue was an analysis of how we need to deploy security. Of the 5 vehicles that we routinely use, 2 are postcars at North Central, never leave Central Campus. 3 are used for district patrols.
Okay.
There is always a certified police officer between the hours of 6:30 and 10:30 on school days who patrols the district. That's divided up into 2 shifts, so we use 2 cars because there's overlap.
Okay.
And then the 3rd car is used on a part-time basis by the Andy Frayne supervisor to check on the traffic control officers.
Okay.
We did not feel that additional cars were necessary and were an unnecessary expense. And certainly allowing officers to take the vehicles home was a large expense.
Okay.
Now, since all of our officers are either regular duty or reserve police officers, they have vehicles that they drive.
Mhm.
So another advantage to using them, besides their training and expertise, is the fact that they bring their IMPD, park ranger. Park rangers are actually Marion County Reserve deputies. Fishers or Brownsburg, which is our speedway, they bring their cars, and those cars get parked in front of our schools.
Okay. I just, for people that made, since this is a study session, I want to make sure they understand it. As you read through these numbers, it seems like you're reducing our security versus making it just better and eliminating waste. You're looking at the vehicles. You just explained the vehicles to me. That's. But I'm saying because we have the off-duty officers at the school, so if you had an issue, one, they're connected with IMPD or whoever they work for, so you have immediate response there, which is better than
Actually, there's more officers in the high school now than there were previously.
That's what
The district patrol officers can respond if needed, and of course, previously we had SROs in the middle schools, and that's still the case, except these are more highly trained.
And that difference alone, I don't want to slight that from the building perspective, has been significant. They are not just there to intervene when there's a problem. They are doing more preventative measures this year under the new format, and the principals have given feedback that it is a tremendous difference. They're building relationships with students and their families, and they're doing a lot of preventative things versus just waiting and responding.
Okay.
That's part of their SRO training.
Okay. Thank you.
The resource aspect
Oh,
of it.
it's fantastic.
And I had a quick question about, are the SROs uniformed in a
Yes.
way that's different?
Now, what you may find, there is a district uniform.
Okay.
It's a black uniform. However, from time to time, you'll go in and you'll see them, particularly at Northview, based on Officer Edwards working with Mrs. Merriweather. You'll see him in plain clothes, but he'll have his badge on a chain around his neck. You may also go into some of the other buildings and see the officers in plain clothes, but they will be armed, and their badge will either be on their gun belt or around their neck. But normally, they will be in uniform. And the uniform is a district-provided uniform.
I was just trying to figure out if there was a way to identify them because I wander through the buildings at different times and see security officers, but I'm not sure which ones are the SROs.
Now, at the high school, Officer Couch always wears his district uniform, so he's going to be in black, and it's a black, kind of like a polo shirt with a badge that's engraved on the shirt.
Okay.
The difference is
Does it say MSDWT on it or SRO?
no, because we are not a police force.
Okay, so we can't do that.
The differences you'll find, I think West Lane Officer Carey normally wears that uniform. Eastwood varies a little bit.
Okay. And I just wanted to share too, I've had occasion to, more than I would like, drive over to North Central and car transport my student, which is something I always try not to do. But I just want to say that the plan that has been put together and the way staff are running that plan, the efficiency with which buses and cars both get in and out of there quickly, kudos to the planning and to the execution.
Well, our goal there was to facilitate entrance and exit from North Central High School, do that quickly for parents and students, but also keeping in mind that the community still has business that they need to do. So we can't shut down 86th Street for 45 minutes. By instituting, for example, the officer who stands as a traffic control officer, who is actually in traffic, rather than running a police car on a loop who could get stuck in traffic themselves, we can facilitate that movement so that we meet both needs. About the only time you'll find traffic backed up on 86th Street is at 310 when the buses are speeding. And then it's important that we get the buses out as quickly as possible. But as soon as they're out, then we open 86th Street back up again.
Suppressive.
I'm going to fill in for Don. I've asked a lot of questions, but I have one more question for you. It kind of goes back. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit, but Mr. Deswana made me think of this. Are in the plans, and I don't remember. For example, I understand the reason why we put up the particular barriers and guards we have at Spring Mill because of the incident we had at Spring Mill. Are there any plans to either paint those barricades or maybe have the kids beautify them or do something to, because it looks like a construction zone. I mean, it really, I know we're doing it for safety, but is there a way to make them safe and look different? I don't know if that's in any...
Well, actually, the original plan was to have student artwork on that.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, that hasn't occurred. And actually, that was before security came into operations. That was that took place. But we can certainly talk with the principal and see if, for example, if operations put a base coat of a neutral color on it, whether their art classes might be interested in doing some work out there. We'll certainly follow up on that.
This came to me because I've been asked about it. Obviously, I go to that school a little bit more than others, but I've been asked about it, and I don't know.
There also are a few of those barriers at Greenbrier.
Okay. Just a thought. Sorry.
Okay. Last department is the warehouse. The warehouse staff, which has been reduced from 4 full-time employees over the past few years to 1 full-time and 2 part-time drivers, continues to provide a variety of value-added services to the school district. Services include, but are not limited to, inter-district mail, U.S. mail pre-sort, laundry, routinely for athletics, natatorium, child nutrition, and housekeeping, and equipment, materials, and textbook pickup and delivery. An example of serendipitous value-added services occurred today. Channel 59, Fox 59, donated their current news anchor desk to North Central.
Wow.
But it was under the stipulation that we had to pick it up. So the warehouse will pick up this donated item from Fox 59 Studios, and it will be delivered to North Central, where it will become part of the set for the North Central News.
All right.
So those kinds of serendipitous things happen all the time, and we always make sure that we can accommodate those. So those are the 6 departments of the operations division. Be pleased to respond to any questions, any additional questions that you might have.
A lot of bad news is coming across that desk. So the kids in North Central then.
So it's going out to a pasture where to live a nice, quiet retirement, right?
We've got about 25 minutes left, so I'm going to move immediately to Dr. Farrell.
In your board document, you see 2 pages that consist of the special education and population enrollment changes across time. If you know that we're now serving about 1,600 students who are classified as English language learners, this is about 1.4% more compared to the beginning of the school year. Frankly, we're pleased that the jumps, while we are pleased to get the children, we're pleased that the jumps have not been so drastic as compared to the past. We are also providing services now to about 1,700 students with IEPs. This is about 6.8% more compared to the start of the school year. That's a typical increase, frankly. When I met with you last October, I shared at that time that we expected that the enrollment at the December 1 count to be about the same, and we have 11 more students compared to a year ago. So we are almost exactly where we were 1 year ago. There's been little change in enrollment with the campus program compared to the start of the school year. As far as updates with instruction, we're very pleased that the progress that we've made in establishing push-in services for English language learners. Mr. Geyer, Charlie Geyer, has worked diligently with the teachers and principals to make sure that the services are in place. And this forthcoming semester will concentrate on progress monitoring to specific interventions versus looking at the blanket of interventions. I met with each elementary principal and their special education teachers and learned that all elementary schools are deploying the 90-minute reading block by using the special services staff to push into the classrooms. Specific intervention time is scheduled in addition to those 90-minute blocks. The intervention time usually consists of about 20 to 30 minutes. Frankly, we wish we had more time. Experts advise that with an intervention you should spend at least 45 minutes, if not close to 60 minutes a day. We just don't have enough time in the school day. In October, I shared with you that we rolled out the individualized IEP, the electronic IEP that was being developed by produced by the Department of Education, and I mentioned it initially that we had a few bumps with that, but frankly, I think it's working very well now. I hear a few complaints from staff. If anything, I think they liked it. They just didn't like paperwork. As far as professional development, we provided training for the specialized staff how to use the iPad as an instructional tool. We continue to conduct monthly meetings for E&L and Title I teachers that included information about effective instruction. We provided ongoing training regards to the electronic IEP, and we participated in NYP unit planning with some of the life skill teachers and finished up a unit planner for grades 6 through 8. That was a lot of fun. And finally, we submitted the year-end reports for the 2010-11-9 competitive grants for E&L and special education. So I'd be happy to address questions.
I have one little question. One of the first things my wife taught me as a non-educator was about how something that I think we all know in our core, but specific to special education, is the fact that people typically don't fall in a nice, neat package. You're not, to use the initials that I remember from her, you're not, quote, just MIMH. You also may have other difficulties or challenges. With this form, how do you determine if somebody's in? Is it their like a primary category than principal?
You have a primary classification, and then you can have what they call correlating secondary disabilities. Typical patterns that we see there is oftentimes students that have a primary learning disability also may have a communication disorder. Oftentimes students that are on the spectrum, such as those with autism, for sure that they're also typically classified as having a communication handicap. Some students that have learning disabilities also may have secondary emotional handicaps. It just varies.
So the young people in this chart will be only in one spot on the chart.
Correct. Right.
I assume that was the case.
Right. For funding purposes, with that chart, with the money, you may have a student that you will get additional funding for if you have a student with a learning disability and a communication disorder, but that's the only example.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You mentioned the LAP students. The increase was a little lower than expected or we've seen in the past, and I know at the beginning of the year or late last year there was some indication we could get up to 100 additional refugee students. Have those refugees not shown up in the community?
We continue to serve refugee students. The numbers, though, just are not as drastically increasing as
248.
Yeah, we're still getting more students, just not at the extreme rate.
Okay.
248 is that your total?
If that's the last total I knew of in December, and it just changes so much.
And at this point, we don't have word from any of the sponsoring agencies.
That
Do we
word,
know, or is the communication continuing so that we get at least some?
yeah, they don't
warning?
have notice, so I've been in a meeting with them where we asked, for a formal process to be put in place. They don't have notice. Sometimes they get notice when that family is getting on the plane to come here. And then, so that's like a 24-hour notice to us. Obviously, there's going to be people before they bring you to the doorstep of school, but they don't have notice sometimes from the federal government. So they notice us as much as they can, but I think we had us in September 28, 29, that came that we did not have a ton of notice on because the federal government did not give our sponsoring agencies here a ton of notice. So it's a chain, not just that they're not being.
I certainly don't want to mislead the thinking that the children probably aren't coming. I just don't. The rate at which they were coming there for a while is just not as remarkable.
I think there's been some changes in Miramar.
Yes, yes,
Which may
for the
slow-
positive.
Which may slow down the
So we've been on the radio last night about a community where they're opening a factory that's going to be hire residents of Miramar, and they brought in a doctor from Miramar, and they brought in a teacher from Miramar. I mean, they were creating this entire community. And
could it be Fort Wayne? Fort Wayne has a large population.
Fort Wayne is
I
the
think it was
largest.
in Indiana. I think it was like in some school, but it was an interesting concept.
And Dr. Farrell, I apologize. I know the Compass, the whole evaluation of that program occurred before I got on the board, and I'm trying to recall all the details, but I know there was some discussion about how are we doing with Compass enrollment and reflecting the face of the district, and there's the whole issue of it's test-based and you got to qualify for the test. But I was curious seeing the numbers to know where we are on that.
In the October information that I shared with you, the representation was provided. I did not duplicate that again this time. We're seeing some changes with that. Are we at the face that we need to be? No. But I think we've increased the representation of the African American student by about 5% compared to 5 years ago. I can certainly retrieve that and send that to Dr. Woodson, and she can
Put them in my weekly update.
Thanks. Any other questions? Thanks, Dr. Farrell. If Mr. Smith and Dr. Farrell are done, shall we allow them to?
Absolutely. Thanks for all the work that they do.
Now, I don't know if that creates a problem for you in staff meeting minutes, in which order, or if you like having that ability to choose which order people get to present.
Next time it'll be an arm wrestle.
And I note the cookie is still sitting in the table.
So
I'm going to eat it. Does anybody else want it? You don't get it. You guys get to leave.
Got your name on it.
I just want you to know, if I can, I will.
Should we share this with Dr. Sullivan or Mr. Licata? Since you drew the long straw. Good night. Oh, you got one from the other side.
Somebody said $20.
Don't ever take that back. He's right. Okay. Business Services Division. Primary business right now is rolling out the 2012 budget and closing out 2011. 2012 was released yesterday, so people at the building level and across the departments are feverishly filling out requisitions and trying to restock their supplies and whatever they might need right now. So the 2012 budget is out and open for business. 2011 we're closing out. We'll probably have that done by the end of the week, and then I'll bring to you the usual resolutions every February. One on the encumbrance carryover from 2011 into 12, and the other for your approval on the appropriation transfers that we made during the 2011 budget year. Time and attendance project underway. We selected a vendor. You know about that. We just had our first clock installed in this building this week. I don't know if it's operational yet. I think it was just on this morning. So we have a power and data run to it, so it'll be up and running, and we're going to start piloting in this building probably as early as next month because we pay 2 weeks in arrears, and we have to be at a period where we want to do it at the beginning of a pay period when we start using it, so it may not be until maybe the week after next. I think it's possible starting that Monday for the first pay period, which then we would pay, I believe, roughly March 3rd or 4th. So we're going to probably run 2 to 3 pays through this building, testing the equipment, trying to work out the kinks, a lot of ideas and thoughts on overtime, comp time, making sure we're complying with Department of Labor issues, and all those kinds of things before we run it out to the first school. So we want there to be as few problems as possible, even though we know the school environment is different from what we do here. We're going to try to anticipate as many things as we can and make it a smooth installation and process across the district. Yes?
No, I'm just nodding very happily.
I was anticipating that.
No.
Is this really the clock with the punch cards here?
No, what it is, it's a device that's mounted on a wall. We're going to use proximity cards. It's going to be a plastic card. It's going to be a
swipe card.
It's going to be a photo ID. It's got an HID, which is a little computer chip embedded in the card.
Read the pulses in your eyeball.
So all you have to do is we're skipping all the biological stuff. So you just get the card, but within an inch or two of the device, and it reads it. It knows it's you, and it'll probably ask you a very basic question: are you clocking in for work? Joe, got it. Yes, you're done. Now people will also have the option in this building of probably doing it at their desktop computer if they don't want to use the clock.
Okay.
I call it a clock because that's what in my head it's always a punch
Ancient
clock.
time.
No.
1970
No, it was-
hospital.
No, it's recording all that data. That's exactly what it's doing. It's recording the
Pull
time.
your card out of the wall.
But it's not a, there's not a big row of cards next to it with. No, it's not that.
And does it tie in with the use of the swipe card for access to buildings, or
Yes.
those are two different systems?
No,
that would have to be-
one card is going to do everything. That's the plan. It'll do time and attendance if you're part of that system. It'll be building access. It could be for the cafeteria lines in the schools if you're staff.
And your ID?
Signing equipment out of the media center, that requires an ID. So it's going to be multifunctional card across the district depending on what position you're in, what your needs are. So like in this building, people may need it for time and attendance and building access. For teachers, yes. It should be that. So it has a lot of capability, and it's going to be a photo ID for the employee as well. So that's part of this, and I think those will be issued in this building hopefully next week. So that's coming very soon on the photo ID part.
Just to clarify a topic from our last meeting, while the same card would be used for all staff conceivably throughout the district, not all the functions. Like we're not talking about putting our teaching staff or professional staff on
No, it's
time card system.
We can control that centrally.
everything can be programmed individually.
We'd use other capabilities of the system for other staff.
Right. Yes. So people that work in Greenbrier may not have access to this building or another school, for instance. People in this building may have access to all the buildings in the district, depending on your position. You may have access from 7 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock at night, but not past that time or on weekends. So that part of the building access system can all be controlled that way. And the time and attendance system, again, that'll be for people who are going to be the first group of users in that system, which will be the hourly classified employees.
Who will manage the control of them?
Of the time and attendance system?
And all of the
Most of the-
capabilities, determining the capabilities.
Well, depending on the functionality of it, different departments will be handling certain pieces. Like operations handles building access. Payroll and HR will be doing the time and attendance part, mostly payroll. Because that's really a matter of once HR enters a new employee in the system, the time and attendance system and the FMS system will be importing and exporting data between the two automatically at night. So if they put a new person in the system, that person will automatically be in the time and attendance system the next day. So
Conversely, if somebody's let go, you zap their card and all that stuff.
Immediately we can cut it off.
yeah, if somebody's terminated, for instance, under bad circumstances, you can go into a system and just still access
It's like Bill said, business has been doing this forever.
Oh,
All the rest
yeah,
of us have had
This is not new.
There you go.
Yeah,
There
exactly.
you go.
Yep. So it's,
Okay.
we're getting there. certain things just in education just never came up as a priority for but this is something good, and it'll be good for the district, and it eliminates a ton of paper. I mean, just get rid of it, and makes the whole tracking system much more accurate and timely, because the information at the end of the pay period will just be imported into the payroll system instead of two people in payroll all of a sudden sit there and deal with over 1,000 timesheets.
Just make sure you don't lose $350 million, okay?
I don't have $350 million to lose.
Or the equivalent.
Let alone
for
find
us.
it.
That's all.
I'd love to look under a rock and find it.
That's right.
Purchasing card, we're starting to kick that project off in the business office. We've had some interesting meetings about that, and I think that program is really going to be well received throughout the district when we start to roll that out. It's got a lot of potential. It really, I think, it's going to add a lot of efficiency to the purchasing operation. I don't see the district losing control or giving up control by using the card. You can have a lot of controls built into that card as well. It looks just like a Chase credit card. It'll have an individual's name and MSD Washington Township on it. But you can set controls on it, limit the number of purchases, the amounts, all kinds of things. Is it necessary to do all that at the beginning? Probably not. But no, you can do it. I think the vast majority of people will use it properly. I don't really.
Many other districts use it, don't they?
Yeah, I don't see that as an issue as far as abuse or anything like that. Will somebody accidentally use it sometime when they should have pulled out their personal card? Maybe that could happen, but that can be fixed also. So that's not a huge issue. Right now, we're just trying to work through what we want the process to look like. Learning the Chase has a very advanced, web-based system with the bank, and there's all kinds of reports you can get out of their system with regard to the purchasing cards. So we're trying to learn more about that before we get too far down and getting this going within the district. We know roughly 78% of our vendors accept credit cards, so that's a good thing. That we know participation from the vendor side will be hopefully fairly easy and seamless. It's just going to be a matter of starting to use the credit card to make the payments, as opposed to writing checks and all that kind of information. The claims docket will probably look different in the future, but you may see some significant payments to Chase when the credit card bills are paid. But no, we have all the supporting documentation behind it that makes up that amount, whatever that may be.
And equally importantly, that you look that over before it's lumped in. So
oh, sure,
obviously.
Sure. Because what's going to happen is when the card is used and there's a charge made, there's a document that will come to the business office immediately from the building or whatever department uses it, and it'll have the credit card receipt attached to it, or an invoice if it's an invoice being paid. And the other thing we're looking at is how to import and export data from the Chase system into our FMS system, so that what we're trying to do is get this thing figured out so that we can post expenditures to budget lines and accounts within our system without having to do it manually. So we can do it electronically through the system. That's a little bit trickier part to get worked out, but we'll get that in time. That's not going to prevent us from starting the use of the cards. We can start doing that now. Well, within a few weeks or a month.
I can imagine one of the other challenges is how does the retailer identify the product that's being purchased? I know when I go through a credit card receipt or my Costco receipt, knowing what this item is, given all the abbreviations they use, and I'm curious how business office says, this is the 3/4 horsepower pump that was needed for that job order. You're depending upon the retailer to really identify by that scan what the product is.
There's different levels of data that comes through from the retailers. Chase has them classified as 1, 2s, 3s, and one category after the 1 or the 3, where there's a lot of detail that comes through from the retailer that shows up on the Chase report. So there can be a lot of detailed information on there on exactly what's purchased and the cost and all that kind of stuff. Other ones, it's not as much. We're going to have to fill that out as we go. And if we need more description on specifically certain items of what's being purchased, the buildings or departments will have to provide that. So, we're going to get more than just that little tiny, charge slip. There's got to be more than that to it, obviously. There will have to be some description of what was purchased and the items. If you buy off a website, which a lot of people are doing now, you always get a sheet when you're all done after you submitted your payment on the website, showing exactly, what you purchased, the quantity, the per cost item, total, shipping, all that stuff. So, and that's the kind of documentation that will accompany the form coming to the business office. And that's all the supporting documentation that will be behind the monthly payments when those credit card bills have to be paid.
Sure.
So I'm pretty confident it's going to work out well, and it's going to eliminate a lot of a lot of purchasing is done on a confirming basis anyway. Everything that comes through food service for the most part is ordered, delivered, and then the paperwork comes. Because you need a lot of that stuff you just don't pre-order. You just need lots of stuff delivered every day or every 2 days, depending on the volume. So it's gonna really, I think it's going to streamline a lot of that. It'll eliminate some of the requisition and POs that we're doing. It'll cut a lot of that paperwork out of our office. It'll take a little bit of time, but we'll get the system down so that it functions very well. Wayne's been using it for about a year and a half now, and they've got over 80% of their vendors that they're paying credit card all the time. It's even being used there in their extracurricular accounts at their schools. I hadn't really thought about that as a possible use, but it makes perfect sense, and it can be done very easily. They use the card to do their purchasing, and then they cut a check from their ECA account, pay to MSDWT, and then we run that through a clearing account and pay the credit card bill. And we get credited in the aggregate total of all the purchases made by the district for those amounts. So it makes perfect sense to do that. So but again, that's another. We got a number of projects that we're starting right now. It's going to take a while to get through all of this, but it'll happen. Compensation model. We responded to request for information put out from the Department of Education about a week and a half ago to participate in a program. DOE is working with a group called the New Teacher Project. It's a not-for-profit corporation. DOE is working with on the teacher evaluation tool, and the New Teacher Group wants to take it to the next step for Indiana and go from the evaluation tool into developing compensation models. So they're interested in working with really just about 2 districts, maybe 2 in the state. So we're going through that process right now to see if we can be chosen as possibly one of those 2 districts. We had an hour-long conference call with them today, and they're supposed to let us know within about a week
We're
what
down
their
to the
decision
bottom.
is.
She said handful of districts.
May sound obvious to you, but just because there are things I may not have thought of, what's the upside for us of participation?
The upside is some of the things I've listed here with compensation diagnostic, the short-term models, sustainability models, and a transition plan.
Okay.
And the idea is they want to do all of this between the end of January and July 1st. So it'll be kind of a fast-track program with them. And really, it gives us the opportunity to be kind of on the inside working with DOE, another district, and helping to form this compensation model for the state and school districts across the state as well.
This work and timeline we'd have to do regardless of the pilot.
Right.
So this is just a support for us doing work on the exact same timeline as we have to do it anyway.
Because I'd like to come back and say, yeah, we got the grant, but it's not a grant. This is not money. This is work for the district.
But you get consultants and folks to work
We
with.
have to do
Yeah.
it
You're going to
anyway.
have to follow
Yeah,
the
we think
regulations.
it is.
Why not
I
shape
think
it?
there's 2 programs that sound a lot alike, which is 2 different. There's the New Teacher Project and
The New Teacher Project is a not-for-profit group.
Teacher America. I think those 2 were kind of, one is
They're
many
different,
houses,
yeah.
and the other is 2 different.
We have, do you know how many teachers, New Teacher Project teachers? We've got one at Greenbrier, right, who went to D.C. last year. Oh, okay. And Mr. Licata, I was just wondering if you could share with us briefly, what is a compensation diagnostic? What's a short-term model?
I don't know yet.
What's the
This is what they're
sustainability
saying
model?
the deliverables are from this project.
Okay.
We haven't seen
A
anything.
transition plan is moving from our current compensation plan to the...
I do know one of the things that they are really interested in doing is taking compensation models and trying to project over a 10 or 15-year period to see what the sustainability is of that particular model. I think that's kind of an interesting piece to this because it's going to be real easy, I think, for districts to find something that they can afford in the first year or 2. But the trick is making sure that your model doesn't snowball on you and you're 5 and 10 and all of a sudden...
Now, do you mean from a payout perspective or from
Yes.
the paying? Okay. That if teachers are getting ranked consistently high and you're... Okay.
Yeah, making sure that you've got controls built into your model that are going to somewhat limit the annual cost to the district. because our funding may not change very much depending on what our enrollment does.
Well, and I just kind of always assumed that it was going to say some kind of a point system or a share that you would then plug into whatever the dollar amount was that was given to you by the state, and that would then determine what your proportion of the dollars was.
But the problem is
you're
you
saying
have to have some control built into your model of what share of your general fund dollars for the upcoming year to be used in the model.
Otherwise, you suck it out of all the others.
Right.
Theory.
Based on the prior year's base compensation, and then what are you going to do for additional compensation for the year you're bargaining for at that time? And does base stay the same year after year, or does your base begin to grow depending on your model, plus you're adding more on top of it?
And even if you control what you're doing, part of the theory is that everybody else won't necessarily be controlling what they're doing too. I mean, from a state perspective.
Well, and this opportunity really is to help develop models that can be used across the state, because there are a lot of districts, especially small school districts in Indiana, which is really 75% of them have enrollments under 2,500 kids, something like that. They don't have maybe chief financial officers, HR departments, all those resources that can work on something like this. So a lot of times it's a superintendent, who also is doing their budget, and they may not have an HR department. So it's really a difficult task for some of the smaller districts to come up with a good model. Some of them really want to be told, here's your model.
This doesn't circumvent bargaining. We have to go through formal bargaining August 1st by law.
On the
This does
compensation
not, that is what bargaining is. It's development of that compensation model. This does not require us to go with what's developed. We've been very clear with WTEA2 on our participation is just a collaboration. We could do a completely different compensation model once we start bargaining, or we could use this framework as such.
I don't think their goal is to come up with one model for Indiana either. That's not been stated anywhere. I don't think that's their objective. It turns out to be maybe less enthusiastic about it. Because DOE so far has been, to their credit, been very good about trying to make sure that you know where you've got local control in this process and what they're telling you need to do. And they're not really telling you an awful lot. They're basically saying, here's some of the things you need to do to comply with the law, but they're not spitting out one model saying, here it is, follow it.
They did the same thing with evaluation. They got groups together to pilot RISE, which is what we know of today. They created this thing through the pilot, and now they're saying to districts, here's a possible model through a pilot that we've come up with. You can choose it or not.
And it's not even as well developed as something like RISE, which is used in different parts of the country by different states, whereas compensation models and performance pay base for teachers, most states have either tried it and decided it's not going to work, or they're not interested in doing it at all, or maybe there's a few that are starting to take a look at it.
It really doesn't. I mean,
Indiana's definitely gone out there, kind of pretty far in terms of performance pay or merit pay. Well, everybody hates the word merit pay because that's DOE. Nobody at DOE would use the word merit, but they're calling it a performance-based compensation model.
We are at 9:10.
I'm sorry.
These are great questions. We do have, I want Mr. Licata to finish, but we do have two more divisions to report to you on. Teaching and learning alone was probably going to take 10 or 15 minutes. So I just want to consider tabling those. We can certainly bring them to you February 8th as information items. That can easily be done, HR and teaching and learning. But just think about that as he finishes up.
Okay. CISC we talked about earlier tonight, recommendation made and accepted. And again, we'll continue to make sure that we're getting competitive pricing in the areas for baked goods and milk and the things that we were getting through the service center. Indiana Bond Bank will receive our tax warrant money next week. We are in the fuel hedge program for 2012, and the floor and ceiling have been established at $2.70 and $3.20. As long as we're buying fuel within that window, it's no money coming back to the district, no money going out from the district. If we get above that, we'll get money back. If the price falls below that, we'll pay money back into the program. It's pretty simple. And it doesn't have anything to do with how much we buy, when we buy it, or anything else. We've already given them all the information. So now all they're doing is taking the NYMEX price off the open market monthly and comparing it to this floor and ceiling. If it falls in between, we're even.
And you're still continuing to do some of the fixed price purchasing when that makes sense?
I still get prices at least 3 or 4 times a week for the supplier on the daily price, and and a price to lock in for January, well, now February through June, but the pricing is not very favorable at this point. It still falls in this range, so there's no upside to locking anything in right now. Even the daily price is within that range, so there's just no sense in locking in. If prices drop, we'll definitely take a look at that. That's why I keep getting information almost daily to make sure that we're following that. But barrel oil is still right under $100, I think.
As long as Iran doesn't go closing the Hormuz and prices
with their 2 shifts.
Jobs money is coming to an end in 2012. That was the last chunk of stimulus money that the district received, and all school districts got some. That was a 2-year jobs money, about $1 million each year, and that money carries us through September 2012. We'll probably be done with ours and have used up the majority of it by end of June, July of this year.
I'm trying to ask her a few questions, but what's the impact of that on the district in terms of?
We're analyzing that right now because we're paying a number of positions, new hires from the last 2 years out of the jobs money, and we're doing pretty detailed analysis on that. I thought I had it ready this week, but it's more involved than I thought because our finances got so strange over the last 3 or 4 years with borrowed money with a tax form issue when we weren't getting property tax money on time. So now to go back and just try to take a snapshot of a year's worth of revenue and expenses, it's not that easy anymore. Some of those years really look kind of strange, so we're having to go back and make sure we're matching up that year's revenue with that year's expenses before we can take a really good look at this. But anyway, we are going back and figuring out what's happened. We also had 2 significant budget cuts. Ideally, for 2011 and 2010, it was $2.9 million in 10, $3.2 million in 11. Now we were able to offset most of that because we grew enrollment both of those years pretty significantly. Now the increased dollars through the formula were not enough to offset the cut in either year, but we were able to deal with the $500,000 to $600,000 problem we had left over after that. But that all feeds into the problem of looking at the positions that are being funded through jobs money and deciding how much of those or how many of those we can just roll back into the general fund when the jobs money is gone. So we just want to make sure that we know what we can afford when that's over with.
So there will be some affected, because my recollection was when that came in, we were trying to look at all ways to spend that money that we knew would be, it's a funding cliff.
Sure.
But you're saying we do have some positions that we would like to carry on that are not going to be funded after.
Yeah, I think we'd love to keep them all, but we don't know that we can yet.
Majority of them, you correct me if I'm wrong, but about 80% of the hires are supporting E&L.
It was E&L. It was teachers and IAs in 2010.
Based on enrollment.
Right. The new hires for 2011 are already being paid out of the general fund. Those positions are already there and being accounted for. But it's the prior year new hires and some other things that we're paying out of jobs that we're taking a look at to see if we can, sustain that through our current level of funding.
And this is not an isolated analysis. He is talking about job funds, but it's much more complex when we look at the total staffing.
That's why it's the jobs and programs.
Yes,
Absolutely.
it's encompassed of the entire picture,
Yeah.
which cabinet is reviewing.
Some stimulus went to the IB.
Professional development.
Right, as well. I know that the foundation and others
Yep.
have been working on that.
We did a lot of our IB professional development over the last 3 years out of stimulus money. That was the first few pots of stimulus money we got in 2009, I think. And then the jobs money came in 10. So that was for 10, 11, 11, 12. And the other stimulus money we're already done with and have spent those dollars. That's gone. So that's already wrapped up and we're getting the final reporting on all those dollars. I'm glad we had it, but I'll be really glad when it's over. It's been an interesting
So based
ride.
on the address last night, there may be a call for additional. Sounds like.
Lifetime membership. Did everybody get the email on the opportunity to join Lifetime? I will make sure you get it. Okay. Well, we had an arrangement with Lifestyle Family Fitness. Those fitness clubs were around Indianapolis. 2 of them closed. Lifetime took over the other 2. And we have a similar arrangement with Lifetime now for employees to join there at a very reduced rate. I don't see any reason why board members couldn't do the same if you're interested.
Pay for exercising?
Well, I know it's a strange concept. People do that.
Really?
It's crazy.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say I do.
We had about 140
Get out of
or
the
50
house.
employees that had signed up for it
Yeah.
with
Wow.
lifestyle. So
Does our healthcare program help to subsidize that as part of its wellness initiative?
It is a significant savings as far as an individual went got that membership by itself. Yeah. What is your pleasure for teaching and learning and HR? HR is pretty slim, but teaching and learning is probably 10 or 15 minutes. Is that a good gauge?
I vote that we push through and get it done, given everything else we've got going on. But that's my vote. Anybody else? This is not your favorite time of day.
Wanda has shut down. My question would be, do we know anything about what the roads are like now because of the sleeting? And I was telling
We
you.
only know what's going on out there.
Pretty fast out there.
It's pretty normal.
They're rolling pretty fast.
It looked wet when we were breaking. It looked more wet.
Good night, Mr. Licata.
Thank you.
The other members?
I'll go with whatever anybody. I mean,
You're easy.
we know. I'm
that.
trying to be easy.
Okay.
I will say that there is nothing pressing. I mean, there's nothing that Dr. Milliman is going to share that you're going to vote on February 8th. It's just a lot of updates with as far as what's going on with teaching and learning, which is pretty robust. So it is easy that we could give it as an information item from the teaching and learning division February 8th, but certainly it's up to the board.
I would give my proxy to Bill.
Oh, great.
That's a lot of power.
That is some power.
That's some power. You got some power now.
It's 9:15. I mean, I don't know. You said there's 2 pieces left.
Mm-hmm.
Is it all tied together, or is it?
Nope.
HR and
HR.
TNI.
That's his page. These are my 2 pages.
This is late for Wanda, but if we could get it done, I'd do it and be done with it.
Do you have a preference?
I'm going to be here.
We'll keep
late meeting every
asking
week
probing
for
questions
9:15.
just to bring you back into
Decision, Mr. President.
let's forge ahead, please.
Dr.
Sounds
Milliman.
good. In the HR, I'll go through Dr. Brown's first. And he supplied me with these bullet items. That the Division of Human Resources continues to work on increasing level of efficiency and service that meet the needs of all stakeholders. Things that they're working on, have been working on, and these are ongoing items I assume from previous meetings. Increase the efficiency of our hiring process for certified and classified staff. Develop and implement a new teacher evaluation model, and I have been increasingly involved in that process. So if you have some questions about that, I'll be happy to answer those. Develop and implement a new administrator evaluation committee. I sit on that committee as well. Reorganize and plan an end of the year faculty recognition and retirement celebration. That's
a big reminder for calendars. That opening day program and all those awards we give out, we're giving out May 31st this year, inclusive of all the retirement programs that used to occur in the evenings. North Central, we're combining all those into one year-end celebration.
So working on that paradigm shift is bigger than a bullet item. That's one of them on his radar. Started his insurance committee this week on admin and classified. We did through your support, increased building substitutes at the elementary, 2 in each building.
Rationale behind that is every building should have at least 2 substitutes a day anyway, so why not consistently have someone there at the elementary level versus this random person from the pool every
It's
day?
the model that's been used at the middle school.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Helps with consistency. We were paying that person anyway, so that money was coming out anyway.
Let's dedicate them to a building. It makes sense. Continue to assist administrators with teachers on performance expectations. Distributed teacher contracts this year electronically for the first time.
State required.
Implement administrator in-service trainings, or he's planning to do. They'll be beginning next month, February through May. HR scheduled some administrator in-service trainings, and that'll those topics will change as the evaluation model comes closer to an end, and also on the timing of anything on it has to do with teachers on performance expectations, and then also changes on the horizon based on the new compensation model, the new evaluation model. We're currently reviewing human resources policies to align with our current legislation, and we'll take on a few of those, Mr. Swanner and Mr. Turner, as you know, in your orange folders that I gave you on Saturday. Upcoming items for HR: coordination of training for teacher evaluation, reviewing the collective bargaining agreement, of course. As you know, that informal bargaining can begin at any time. However, we would not anticipate that starting until we get a little further down the road on the teacher evaluation model, because there's not a whole lot of sense in talking about compensation until we get solid on that. Working with the principals and teachers on conditional status is an ongoing item. And those he got a little more detail here on these in-services and saying that it would be on new legislation, evaluation document, ABA compliance, things of that nature. Prepare and develop training models for teacher and administrator evaluations. That's a big piece. We are working with a group called INTAS that has developed teacher evaluation models in Evanston, Illinois, and other places. They are working with the DOE, and so our involvement with them is really minimal in cost, but we get a lot of value from that as they will continue to monitor the model that we're designing and making sure that it's compliant with legislation and rules of the DOE. So that we'll have some help, I guess is what I'm saying, on that training model through their help. Develop administrative guidelines for evaluation model in alignment with new legislation. So those are the items that he shared with me this time. I can answer some of those questions, but maybe not all.
Two quick ones. The insurance committee, is that in its infancy? In other words, is there something big coming to try to smack us in the face?
Response to the concerns that surfaced with the communications last year. And one of those responses was that we would form this committee to have ongoing conversations about some of the issues that were raised during that time.
Just didn't know.
So it was a response committee, and I think it was very appropriate, very well received that we did that at that time too. And they have already met.
Thank you. This is just a teeny one. The important but teeny as far as my question.
Sure.
Participating in the Indiana Association of Business Officials. That's I have.
I asked them.
Yeah, so there's a missing S. But for human resource certification, is that a lengthy process, short process?
He's there right now. There's I think it's 2.5-day HR certification.
Cool.
It's not a DOE issued certification. It's an IAS. It's an association issued certification. But we certainly felt it was important for Dr. Brown to participate in that personal to professional development. In addition to learning all of the other new changes impacting HR, for him to have that specific to HR professional development. He's there now. The big kahuna, teaching and learning.
I did insert a section this time on leadership. I think that we talked a lot around this table about logistics, rules, regulations, laws, etc. I don't have a copy. I did not make a copy for you. I'm sorry. I just was talking off this is talking point. I certainly could. Did you have that sent to us?
Sure. Emailed to us?
Absolutely. So I thought you might be interested in some of the capacity building in the realm of leadership, as well as just complying with laws that we've done. So I'll just take a few moments to talk about that. Teaching and Learning Division did spend some significant time over our last few meetings defining the purpose of our leadership team. I know that should be obvious, but oftentimes it's not. We've had a lot of changes, as you know, in roles, and so we've spent a significant time on that. And we've adopted through that process a framework for communicating our work through the strategic plan, and you'll see that as the action plan emerges, and we've just had some very valuable conversation around that. The purpose that the Teaching and Learning Division landed on, I guess, after a couple lengthy discussions and meetings, was to lead student and staff learning through the International Baccalaureate Framework. By the way, that's 12 words, and that complies with IB guidelines. If it's more than 12 words, you tend to forget it, I found out. So that is you'll see that throughout the strategic plan as our framework. So we're going to continue to keep that forward in our work. We engage in the process of identifying commitments then under that framework to define our goals in the strategic plan, those commitments being professional learning, instruction, and student achievement. Then we ask our principals to engage in that same process of identifying definitions around those commitments and defining those three things. We brought those definitions back to teaching and learning, and we're continuing to hone those definitions. So when we bring it to the action plan, you'll see there will be a process behind those three simple definitions. There'll be a lot of work behind that. So I felt it was important to share that with you. The teaching and learning team then synthesized that early work, as I mentioned. Our next work is then to categorize those goals that you approved tonight under our division, rather than by division, i.e. special services, technology, secondary and elementary. We're going to categorize those goals under professional learning, instruction, and student achievement. We feel like that's where our work should live, is under those pillars, not to pigeonhole Mr. Doss in the secondary. It's a K-12 reading initiative, not a secondary reading initiative. So that's kind of the philosophy behind that process. We gave a homework assignment over winter break for the teaching and learning division, and we read the...
And people think I have to do that.
I know, we're not doing a book study. I told them they had to read the whole thing. We're going to talk about the book, not a chapter. So it was a fun read anyway. So we read Patrick Lencioni. He's a business author, and you might know him for his 5 Dysfunctions of the Team, Death by Meeting, some others as well. We read the four obsessions of an extraordinary executive, and we're working through that as a group. And his work emphasizes the importance of organizational clarity, and it was really important for us because we have been finding our way again in our new roles and ways to communicate that. So the book really addresses the leadership struggle from moving from a smart organization to a healthy organization. So it's that balance between those two. And I guess the premise or theory is that you can be a smart organization but not be a healthy organization. But it's hard to be a healthy organization and not also be smart. So
and SMART means the word and not the acronym.
Yes,
and
the
healthy
word.
also means the word and not the
That's
acronym.
correct.
Or not an acronym that I don't know yet.
You may have heard over the years in educational conferences that we're data rich, information poor. We have tons and tons of data. We're very smart often. We know a lot about ourselves from a data standpoint, but it's about human systems and building capacity of people. And that's that organizational clarity piece. Is what is our true mission, North Star, vision, and keeping that in the forefront of the decision-making process. Hard to do when they keep changing the rules in the middle of our game, but as an organization, that's why leading students and staff learning through the International Baccalaureate Framework that's what we're trying to build clarity around in all of our decisions. So that's the work we've done. I know that's not what we've always talked about around the table, but it's really a significant part of our leadership. So I wanted to share that with you this evening. Now on to the jungle of all of the items that we typically talk about. Our team observed approximately 40 middle school classrooms in December. We met with the principals to debrief that visit, and we will return to the middle schools next Monday with the team to visit approximately 40 more.
And that's that last Monday of the month I was telling you about, that any board member at any time is always welcome to attend.
So you can join us, and we'll just plug you right in. We revised our observation guide framework to include a more focused International Baccalaureate items, focusing on approach, questioning, expectations, not the physical presence of the room. Not do you have your learner profile posted, more about do we sense, feel, see International Baccalaureate work in the classroom. Kathy Reiki and Jim Frakes continue to observe elementary classroom teachers through that quality assurance process. While it's early in the process, patterns are beginning to emerge, such as adherence to core lesson design, techniques in checking students' understanding, circulating, and conferring with students. We're starting to see some consistency in those elementary teachers that they've identified as being very successful over a number of years. We're continuing to refine our quality assurance process for our principals. We revised the quality assurance form to provide more focus on critical questions associated with each grade level, such as 90-minute reading block, professional learning, community observation data, and core lesson design. We've completed 7 quality assurance reviews with the elementaries last week. We completed 2 middle school quality assurance reviews today. We'll complete all of the quality assurance reviews by next Tuesday. We had it scheduled for Friday, but we'll have it completed by Tuesday. We're currently observing professional learning communities. I'll pause here and say that we are not observing professional learning communities as a CEC, teaching and learning division, to the degree that I would like. We're trying to get out of the building as much as we can. And you might have noticed we've had a lot on our plate. It's just hard right now. I think the candle has 3 ends, and so but Kathy, Riki, and Jim Frakes are systematically approaching professional communities and principals, and they did send us a schedule again yesterday. I've asked Cindy, for example, to say, okay, which ones can I not? I want to get into those, but it's just becoming increasingly difficult. So we are doing that. We're moving our. This is important for you to know that we are moving our quality assurance review number 3 to June, and we will get. I fully anticipate being able to get a schedule to you by next week at the latest. Now that Marsha Reynolds is back from her wonderful trip to Seattle to celebrate our Allisonville award, we'll plug in actual. I don't want to keep changing it on you, so I'm going to actually plug in schools. The reason for moving it to June was twofold, at least twofold. One, our authorization visits were not scheduled when we originally scheduled those April dates, and we felt I just couldn't do that to principals. I think that just wouldn't be great. Okay, and then we have some data coming in June as well, so we'll get those to you ASAP.
They are going to consider, however, possible alternatives to something during the school year where they may want to get in buildings. So I'm going to get feedback to the board. I presented the rationale and all that.
And I know our principals will welcome that. So that will be fine. We're going to provide support for our principals based on our first 2 quality assurance reviews to help them with the data collection piece in March and April and May at regularly scheduled principal meeting times. We'll do that in additional times as necessary. I do have these I'll pass out and you can pass around. I thought just received these right before the board meeting, and they really, I think, will give you a good sense of the work that Jim and Kathy are doing with the principals. They're quite impressive. These are examples of action plans that are being designed with our principals. I'm quite frankly jealous of these. I would have loved to have this kind of support as a building principal. Through the quality assurance process, through their school improvement plans, they are sitting down with principals and designing action plans around their needs. The elementary one is kind of pretty and color-coded. The middle school is just page 1 of 4, actually. I mean, I just printed off one page for you to give you a taste of what they're doing. But it's a true action plan. This is the number of days to complete the task, and they're checking off whether it's in progress or it's completed. It gives
through a software system that we use for the IB deployment. When we reported out on that in the past years, we're using that same system now that we've tried it at a district level the past couple of years, now deploying it to the school level to support them with their school improvement plan.
So I was avoiding asking a question, but just because I'm curious.
Sure.
Software spits this out. Linda Lawrence gets it on an email. I assume, does the software allow her to make X responsible?
She actually creates. She's the one that puts the X in the box.
So she has a way of saying, I make this block responsible for this. I make this teacher responsible for that.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
It's her work. We don't do that for her here. No.
But it's wonderful. I mean, honestly, this is going to put us ahead of the game when it comes to the administration evaluation instrument. When it comes to being able to bring evidence of deployment of programs, working with teachers, completing tasks, adhering to using student data to make decisions. our principals are going to have a lot of data to support their work. I mean, this is just not happening, quite frankly, in many school districts, very few districts.
What does the WES refer to? Does that go back to the school improvement plan item? The WES
Top corner, if you're
1.1, 1.2.
Oh, that's the work plan like item that it correlates with. So that's going to correlate to their school improvement plan. This is item goal number 1, but this is action plan 1.1 whatever. So it's like how standards are written. There's one writing standard, but then there's standard 1.1, you know.
work by standard, perhaps, is the.
But these items would be the items from the school improvement plans?
Yes, all this aligns to
Some of those standards can move across from our professional learning community observation forum, perhaps, because the principals are monitoring the deployment of professional learning communities under a set of standards. So they're responding to how many times they've observed that particular standard in action, for example. So, Dr. Ewing is going to be visiting schools to address the topic of assessment, talking about the frequency of our assessments, the appropriateness of our assessments, whether we're duplicating our efforts, perhaps looking for certain metrics, and whether we can pare down the number of assessments that are happening in the classroom. We are meeting Friday, her and I, to kind of design some guiding questions prior to her visits, so that the conversation can stay focused on those topics and be productive. So
we're responding to teachers, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we're responding to teachers asking questions and sharing concerns. So this is a way we can respond to them with some real meaningful conversation.
When you hear feedback such as I could have time to teach if I didn't take so much time to assess, then you need to listen to that concern. And again, if we are duplicating our efforts and measuring the same skill with two different instruments, and we can assist with that, then we need to know that. So we're asking her to gather that feedback, and so it'll take a significant amount of time. Obviously, we'll go to every school, so it's not something she'll be able to produce in a week. It's going to take a little time to do that, but we expect some movement in that area. We're going to continue to adjust we'll adjust our quality assurance documents and strategic plans accordingly. That's based on that bullet. When you see that, is based on Dr. Newman's feedback. So we're going to be changing anything in our action plan based on the number of assessments that would have to happen. Kathy Reiki and Allison Smith attended the National Advanced Ed training in early January, and this was solely dedicated, this particular conference was solely dedicated to district accreditation, and I wanted to have both of their lenses at that table. And I wanted to see where IB authorization and advanced ed accreditation both merge and diverge. So it was very meaningful for them, and I'm again meeting with them this week as well to debrief that.
Could you remind us when the advanced ed?
Next year we'll have some implications for
2013.
Yeah, next school year. I can't remember if it's first semester or second semester.
We're going to be requesting the dates this week, and based on Allison and Kathy's feedback, I think I'm going to request it's early in March, trying to worry about second semester, trying to figure out where ISTEP's going to fall. Because we'll have MYP authorization visits.
That's what I was going to ask.
And
That's going on next year as well.
She's asking for a similar time frame for MYP.
The difference, however, with advanced ed accreditation is that MYP authorization and PYP, they're going to every school, and they're filtering through every school and doing thorough. This is a sampling of our school district, so they won't be in all 13 schools. They will just do a sampling. Lots of conversations at the district level at the accreditation process. I have participated in accreditation. I did the Big Kahuna IPS, and Kathy Reiki is going to participate in an accreditation site visit as an accreditor. We're also going to try to do a principal or two so that people feel this experience. It's very, very different than authorization. I don't think it is as taxing to the buildings as IB authorization is. I think accreditation is more taxing to central office.
And as Vance has changed their process, I think a lot of our work in quality assurance, they're looking for evidence of use of data, and I'm not too. We've got a lot of evidence of that going on in Washington Township.
No worries about accreditation.
But I do, because that's what she had. I'm going to be nervous for her on that one. I want to do well. So that's what's on the horizon. Kathy will introduce an online planning tool to our principals at their next meeting, and we're going to see how we can use that to perhaps build our school improvement plans. Advanced Ed, through our membership, we are able to use, I'm going to use the term console, web console, porthole, however you want to describe it. It's pretty exciting, actually. They pull over, for our work it is, they pulls all of our school achievement data.
I'm having trouble with grasping that perspective.
Well, it's exciting for a data geek like me. It pulls all the DOE reports right into your plan, so our principals aren't going to have to drag over things into Excel spreadsheets and things. It'll populate that. They're going to be able to build in their school improvement goals into that, so when the Advanced Ed team comes, our schools will be aggregated or disaggregated, however they want to pull it. So it's.
We're working right now from a Word document.
Yeah.
And that's totally crafted. Every single word is.
Jesus technology.
Yeah.
I just was
So
thinking you
this
need to get out of
asks
the
questions
state
and then
you
spits
turn
out
that as
information
exciting.
based on what you've answered in
Exactly.
the poll or something like that. So but we're going to give principals input on it.
Yeah.
That's what
We hope that it'll be something that's user-friendly for them, because it works through a set of questions. So when they plug in data and answer their questions, then they can generate a school improvement report plan right out of those questions. So,
And if they say, this puts me over the top, I have too much else going on, take on a new system, we're going to hear that and continue with a similar system that we have. But if they say, whoa, this would be eons different than our current archaic system on a Word document, then we certainly want to hear to that too and make a transition. So we'll keep you in tune on their response.
With him, we're going to use it because we're going to use it because we have to use it at district level. We don't have a choice. So for district accreditation, we have to plug in to that piece. So we're going to try to make it look really good. So that's where that is. We are, I think Dr. Whitson has shared as well that we are hosting our MYP consultant February 17th to 10th, and I think we shared that on Saturday as well. Additional items are important work being done on the collaboration with WTEA on the teacher evaluation. We had a very productive meeting yesterday on that. I really am pleased with the movement on that document.
And if we move forward with this DOE new teacher project, they would be welcome to be a part of that if they wanted to, and I know they...
The compensation model pilot is something that if we are selected, we are going to participate in. We have collaborated with WTA and given them information about this pilot. I'm not sure that they would choose this pilot based on her questions and reaction if it was a choice, but we certainly feel that it's going to be a great support to the work we have to do anyway. Does that answer your question?
Well, I was wondering, could they be a part of that process if they chose to be, or does really...
It's kind of hard to describe. It's a lot of...
separated from that.
It's not bargaining, but the process isn't a sit around tables for meetings. It's us submitting data to them analyzing the data from these two school districts, whomever is chosen, and then getting some information back out to us to review. A lot of the work seemed like it was going to be done via conference call, email. That's not a ton of everybody sitting around, what should we develop? So it's going to be a lot of work for Joe Licata's office.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It feels a lot like a consultation service.
You got it.
They want our teacher data because those diagnostics are going to build models around that, nutrition, et cetera. And then they want to know, and they have to be kept in the loop on this teacher evaluation model. As I shared with them in the conference call, as it stands right now, the teacher evaluation, and I say that now because it's in process, is that 25% of that, of the performance rubric is student achievement, is student outcomes, okay? Well, they may be working with a district where it's 50% or 51% or 30%, so they'll have to know where we are in that process in order to plug in models.
And
So
WTA will be invited to any conversations we have with them, but a lot of it is Joe Licata's work behind the scenes in providing them information, and we certainly wouldn't ask WTA to be a part of that.
Right.
I don't even want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think it might be
It's a lot of data gathering.
counterproductive. at this point.
Your explanation helps answer my question.
I had that, we just found that out today.
Wasn't too painful, was it?
No.
Thank you for
Any
withstanding all of it. It's all important.
Wanda's got some.
Can I say that?
Wanda saves all her questions for the end.
Can I move the
Are there any other questions? If there are not, and any other information to share? If not, at 9:45 we are adjourned in our special session.